What's up? This is Joe from Dead, and you're listening to As the Story Grows.
Welcome to the next chapter of As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. This week, we welcome Dead frontman Joe Cotela to the podcast. Dead will release their sophomore full-length School of Thought this Friday, October 15th, via Suretone Records. Joe talks about transitioning from athletics to music, letting the rockstar dream go that led to Dead, working with the Madden brothers and Fred Durst, and the reasons behind taking a minimal approach to promotion in 2020. Dead is on the cover of the October issue of Alternative Press magazine, so big things are on the horizon for these guys. So I hope you enjoyed this week's chat with Joe Cotela from Dead.
I'm doing really well, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, stoked to talk to you as well. I was looking some of your stuff up, and you had some really cool people you interviewed. It looked like pretty like different, all over the place. Me Without You, all the way to Of Mice and Men and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. Try to be diverse. Diverse taste. Bring it to the show.
I like it.
Hopefully, people are into it with me. So
yeah, no doubt, man.
That's cool. And you were different. I don't know that I've talked to somebody who is truly, I don't know what I would say, like in the new metal realm as much as you are. So That's cool.
Right. Right.
So that's rad. What has you in New York currently?
My girlfriend lives here, Maria, from In This Moment.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she lives here. So I've been here with her for about a year and a half, 2 years now.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So you moved right before the pandemic hit?
Exactly. Yeah, right before that. Yeah.
Oh man.
And I was hopping back and forth for a long time, and then that happened, and everything. So it's like, it's a good time. Let's do this. Let's kind of let's do this. So
cool.
It's good.
That's cool. What was that like, making the move as like everything is locked down and now you're like in this relationship where you can't leave home?
Well, that's the thing, is it works out nice because we were together for a while before that, and a lot of our time was spent on tour together, like whether we were touring together, actually together, our bands, or I would just go out with her when she was out. You know what I mean? If I was just chilling, I didn't have anything to do. So we spent most of our time, in a bus, very, very tight on top of each other. And, I guess for, tour isn't as comfortable as, other things. And so I think even just living in a house together was easy, actually.
Nice.
It's good. But we're easy anyway. We get along like super easy. So
that's
great.
Awesome. That's rad. Yeah. That's rad. So you grew up in Arizona?
I did. Yeah. From Phoenix, and Tempe, Chandler, all that little area.
That's cool. What was growing up like for you?
What was growing? Wow, it's a bit of a broad statement. It was, it was good. I mean, I loved being a kid. I look back fondly on being a kid. I had great parents that are awesome. And I did a lot of sports. They were always supportive of things like that, like sports. I did, soccer, baseball, basketball, martial arts, all kinds of stuff like that. Skating, skateboard, rollerblade, bike, anything I could do to just be outside and be doing stuff. And just had a really good time, man. I had a I've had a really good life, honestly. So
That's awesome.
Been pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's great. Was like sports your driving factor, like all through your like school years, or was there some point where music came in and sabotaged your athletic career? It happens to so many of us.
No, that's so interesting. It's true. Yeah. I always loved sports. and I don't know if that was just because, my parents I don't think they pushed me in that direction. I think I loved it. I always loved doing things. I love team stuff too. I love being on a team and working on something together, which translates into being in a band. But I always did sports, loved martial arts, everything. And then when I was around, I think I was 14, I broke I compound fractured my arm skateboarding. Oh. I broke it. It was bent. The bone was out, the whole thing. And it was pretty rugged. And I had been at that time, I had already started playing guitar. I think I started playing guitar when I was 12 or something like that. And so I had already started kind of starting to get with bands, we were trying to do, whatever. And then I broke my arm and I was really worried, about it, my hand, because I said the bone came out. I had metal plates in there now. And the doctor told me I almost was going to lose my using my fingers. And I was like, that's a big thing. It's my guitar. And then so it was kind of around after I broke my arm, once it healed and I had to do a little bit of rehabilitation or whatever, and I could play guitar again. That was it. I was like, I definitely chilled out on extreme sports for sure. Cause I used to jump hills on bikes and things like that, and just do just wild stuff, anything that was fun, And there was just a certain point where I realized, you can get really hurt doing some of this stuff. And then around, and I was in the basketball team in middle school. And then around in high school, I felt like sports got real competitive and it just wasn't fun anymore. And I loved it because it was fun. I loved being competitive. I love competition. I love that. But I just that was when I kind of started getting a little more anti-establishment. And, I found, punk rock had really, really got into my veins. And I didn't like a lot of the bullshit that came along with it. It got too serious kind of. Yeah. And I was just like, nah, man, I think music's a little more for me. And I still play sports for fun. I mean, we play sports, we bring a football with us on tour. We throw the football around we love working out, love all that stuff. But
that's awesome. Yeah. I was into martial arts and then I went to my first punk and hardcore show and I was like, that's the thing I want to do. My parents were like, well, you almost have your black belt, so just finish. And then I did. And I was like, all right, I'm done with that. I just want to go to punk shows.
Yeah. And for punk and hardcore, that comes in handy in the pit and stuff too, right? So
you just throw it.
But no, I what did you do? I was in Taekwondo.
What was it called? It was a karate, Okinawan form of karate.
Okay,
the specific name escapes me.
Yeah. I got to second degree black belt and I was teaching and stuff. I was pretty young. Like I said, I was 14, so I was pretty young. And it was good, man. It was really, I think those are great things. Something all people should do. I think can be really beneficial to people.
Yeah. Was skateboarding your on-ramp into extreme music, like hardcore punk or?
No, I wouldn't say skateboarding. I mean, at times it was, you'd find a lot of cool music on the skate videos and stuff like that. All kinds of different stuff. I remember finding back then, running into Tribe Called Quest and the Promise Ring. I remember finding on one, and I remember finding 311 was where I first heard them, was on a skate video, and all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, there was something about it in that culture, and there's something still to this day that I love. Combining music with skating. It's such a beautiful thing. Even watching skate videos, just the beauty of even a classical song over skateboarding, because there's a gracefulness to it and such an art to it as well. So, but it was kind of around that same time when I got into skateboarding. I had some neighbor kids that were a couple years older than me, and he was just on all of it. I went over there. I remember I can vividly see NoFX Punk and Drublick, the CD, BC Boys, Ill Communication, and Beck, Mellow Gold, and Flaming Lips as well. I remember that was kind of a time when I found a lot of alternative punk, whatever you call it, music. Cool. Cypress Hill too was a big one. Love Cypress Hill. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're huge. Yeah. Tim thankfully sent me this huge bio on you, so I know you had a band called Going Postal in high school there.
Oh, wow. You got the deep cut.
I got the deep cut. Yeah, was that your first band foray or successful one?
Yeah, well, I mean, successful to me at the time, because, the whole idea that band was just like a punk band, you know, like a Blink-182, you know, whatever it was kind of band, which is everybody's first band, right?
Yeah.
But maybe a little more like we were in the Suicide Machines and Slapstick and Voodoo Glow Skulls, so a little bit faster. And yeah, but that was the first time I really started playing shows. And like, you know, there was a bowling alley that they did a lot of shows at. Remember we opened for like Tsunami Bomb there and stuff. This was like, I think I was 16.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was the very beginning, was just like punk shows, backyard shows, stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Was that the point where you knew like, or what was that point where you knew like, I want to do music, this is where I want to go, this is the career path I'm taking?
Yeah. Well, the
maybe not career path, but yeah, like this is the thing I want to be spending my time doing.
Yeah, when you're a little bit younger, I don't think you're thinking about career as much,
yeah.
You know? You're just like, I love being around like-minded people. I love being around this scene. I'm thirsty, you know. And then like you were talking about your first like punk show. I remember going into high school, and I had gone to some shows and stuff, but like I had gone to like a festival. It was like Goldfinger and 311 and like Cake and like, you know, whatever was like cool at that time. And I remember I saw Bush one time. I loved Bush. But then like my first kind of like underground-ish type show, my friends took me to Strung Out, went and saw them, and that really like blew my mind and changed things for me in a big way. And I simultaneously loved kind of punk rock, and then I also loved you know, mainstream kind of metal at that time, White Zombie, Korn, you know, that kind of thing. I went and saw Korn and Limp Bizkit. Mm-hmm. So I just loved all music, you know, really aggressive and not really. I mean, I've always enjoyed everything. And so there was that point, and that was when I just loved the culture of going to festivals and, you know, whatever. And then I think around 1920, I had a band called Half Gain at that time. And it was more like new metal-ish kind of, and I've gone through different bands. I've been in all kinds of like, you know, punk and then new metal and then hardcore bands and then like rock and, you know, all kinds of things. I love all of it, you know, and so there's different eras of my life, I guess, where I've been in different things. And now at this point, it's kind of a culmination of all of those things, I think, is what Dead is, what I'm in now. But around 19 or 20, we got a manager, and he was kind of the one that I feel like turned me on to things and like got me kind of a little more business oriented and thoughtful. And our producer at that time, John Herrera, who was doing our EPs and stuff when we were teenagers, really taught me a lot about that. And yeah, I started thinking about it seriously then.
Yeah. Yeah. You've had this career that's been like ups and downs, different bands on like different labels and subsidiaries. If I just look at like the Cover Up, who was on Modern Art Records doing like hardcore. I don't know if you just want to talk about that trajectory and like kind of what you've learned through each phase of like the music industry and these different bands as like you continue to pursue this thing.
Right. Well, that's what's interesting too, really, is in Dead, about 5 years ago or 6 years ago before it started, I was kind of to the point where I was sick of the music industry. I didn't really want to be a part of it anymore. I felt like I was kind of losing the luster, losing the magic. And I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to be writing songs to try to make labels happy and things like that. All that stuff kind of happened to us in a band called Man Machine and things like that. And, you know, even though it was a good time, it just wasn't what it should have been as far as I'm concerned. And so it, you know, I learned a lot. And then through the Cover Up, that the other band you're talking about, you know, the album didn't come out the way it was supposed to. And there was all this stuff that was a little bit of a pain, you know, and so there was a lot of things. There's been a lot of things over the years that, you know, you have to have so many things line up and be like, go the right way to do this. And it's crazy. But with Dead, it was like, we weren't like, I gave up on like the idea of it being a career or anything like that. I was like, I'm going to maybe go to art school or do something like that, like get into graphic design or whatever else I was going to do. But then we did Dead for fun. And then now it's been, and then which is awesome, because now it's been the most successful thing that I've ever done. So that's a really cool thing that it worked out that way.
That's cool. Does the name kind of play into this idea that like your dream of music stardom is dead, or is it just some fun play on words?
No, that's funny. That could maybe subconsciously somewhere.
You should use that.
Yeah. I kind of talk about it as an abbreviation for dedicated. You know what I mean? They'll have that in books sometimes, and that's what I like it to be. I think the origin of the name was it just sounded cool and it looked cool at the very beginning. And like I said, we weren't taking it super seriously, but I do that even with lyrics too. Like I won't even know what I'm writing down or writing sometimes, and I have to take a step back and look at it to see what the meaning is. So, it's cool like that.
For me, when you're monopoly, I am the opposite. God forbid I could be living antithesis. Revel in this, resist. Maybe you'll get to just venomous. Standing in line is the way that you go. I will survive on the path that I chose. Sever the ties from the blind and all those ignorant bastards I am in control. You won't take me alive. I'd rather die than live in this prison. I am anti everything. Done being kind. I draw the line. No, I will not.
What informed the sound of the band?
Well, at the time, again, 6 years ago or so when we started doing it, and there's been a bit of a new metal, new core revival, I think, since then, which is interesting. When we started doing it, we were seeing other bands popping up kind of at the same exact time, which is an interesting thing. And we talked about the universal consciousness and sometimes how that happens, And we were just talking about how awesome, Slipknot and System of a Down and Korn and Pantera were at the time. And we're like, I don't feel like bands are embracing, like that was like maybe one of the last times that like metal and heavy music was like really on a grand scale, like popular, I guess, and universal. And so we're just talking about how great that music was and how people weren't doing that quite as much at that time. And we wanted to just kind of get influenced by that, meld it with a new, a modern take on it, I guess, was kind of the idea when we first started doing it. It was like, wanted to be really heavy,
That's cool. Yeah. I remember who's the band? I think Islander, the band on Victory.
Yeah. Totally.
Their debut record, hearing that, being like, okay, this is like a throwback sound that I dig and haven't heard in a while.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which was,
love those guys.
Which was cool. Yeah. What led you guys to Suretone?
We had gotten with John Feldman, who was the singer of Goldfinger. I was saying was one of my like first shows, and that came full circle. He found Dead, and we were out there and recorded a couple of tracks with him. And he brought in Jordan Schur, who's with Suretone, and we did a showcase and did a little bit of courting, back and forth as you do. And yeah, man, that's it. And he's been killing it.
I see John hooked you guys up with Benji and Joel from Good Charlotte.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, Benji and Joel and Josh Madden as well, who doesn't get enough credit. Managed us. We were early. We were one of their, I think one of their first couple bands that they were managing when they were starting MDDN, and we were with them for about a year and a half. And they are just some of the best people you could imagine, and they're awesome. And it was a really good experience with them. And just had a whole thing with like that whole kind of circle where things didn't line up, and couldn't work with them. And Jordan became our manager, and Jordan is the owner of Suretone as well. Jordan Schur, who's a legend. If you look up his track record, It's crazy. A great mentor as well, and so yeah, he's the best.
That's awesome. You guys worked with Fred Durst on music videos.
We did, yeah. And the correlation there would be that Jordan managed Limp Bizkit back in the day, and Fred, a lot of people don't know that, but Fred directed a lot of the Limp Bizkit stuff and movies and things like that. We got on board with him, and we did 2 music videos with him. Anti Everything, which was our first single, and then Remember the Enemy, which was another one. And Fred's Fred, man. Fred's awesome.
Yeah,
it was really cool to work with him, man. He's an eccentric, amazing guy, and it's awesome to know him and call him a friend.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, his whole gimmick is hilarious.
Yeah, the Lollapalooza thing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Dude, he's great.
I feel like people are coming around and giving them their due and being like, actually, Limp Bizkit was an amazing band and not just this joke.
Yeah. Which that's the thing, is they don't take themselves too seriously. And I think people maybe thought they did, or maybe they started to at a point. I'm not going to, overanalyze them or whatever, but I loved them. And then I remember their name became like a bad word for like 10 years, during like the scene time, I think. And then feel like everybody, loves them again. And dude, they're just such a sick, heavy band. If you haven't seen them live, they're amazing. And, they're just a great band. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like new metal, like you were saying, it's kind of this circular thing where it's come back around. It's kind of like the emo thing where it's like, it's popular and people are like shit on it. Nobody wants to be associated with it. And then it comes back around and people are like, oh no, this is cool again. And like, we're fine using the term. And I feel like new metal's in that cycle too with emo, maybe less jokes about it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that happens with like pop punk too, and punk too, as well. You see little surges of things here and there. It's funny how people do that, and everybody kind of jumps ship like, oh, I don't identify with that anymore. And, but it was a part of your life, it's okay for you to like it. You know what I'm saying? It's okay for you to say, like, cause I'll have conversations with people and they'll be like, oh yeah, dude, I don't even, what, are they still a band? It's like, they're still a band. You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. It's like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? So I think it's silly how people get like that. But, I went through that time in my like early 20s, I think, where I was like, I only identified with Every Time I Die and Glassjaw at that time. And I was like, everything else sucks. I hate everything else. And, and then, but that's okay. That's just part of your life. And you go through different phases,
Yeah. You get older and you don't give a fuck anymore. What people think.
You're like, yo, if it's good, I like it. And I don't care. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. How did the pandemic affect Dead and your plans?
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to, we were going to release our album like right at the beginning of the pandemic. So that was a big, we put out a single at radio and everything right at that time. And we were supposed to go out on a tour, the tour that starts in about a week now with In This Moment, Blackville Brides. And that's going to start September 17th, but it was supposed to start, in May of, was that 2019 that everything happened? 2020. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I can't even remember how long, what it is, honestly. It's been forever. But yeah, so it affected the album, and which had already taken too long for us to do because we were touring so much. It took, it was going to be like 3 or 4 years from the first album, which is way too long, but we also switched producers. We went over with Kevin Churko and did this, and we had to kind of wait because he was doing Five Finger Death Punch and In This Moment at the time. And so we had to kind of sneak in there, go on tour, go back in, so it was a whole thing. But he was amazing as well. And we're, grateful and honored to work with him as well. He's a legend in his own right as well. And as far as I'm concerned, it put everything on hold, all that momentum that we tried to keep, because we tried to go into the studio, go on tour, go in the studio, don't stop, stay going. And then we had to stop, complete that halt. And now it's time to rebuild, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Was there any point where you thought about just releasing the record during the pandemic, like any point during 2020, and just being like, we got to get it out there?
Yeah, I felt that way, of course, but you have a lot of people involved with it, people invested in it, physically and financially both. Mm-hmm. And so you have to get everybody on the same page. And honestly, after the way our first single came out of the gates and how everything, it felt like you were just throwing it kind of into an abyss of weirdness. We had the, socially, the president, the pandemic, everything. It was like, how are you even going to get people to pay attention to music right now? Even though people needed music at the time. And I agree. And I was listening to a lot of music, but we felt like we have a really great album, and we want it to really, get its due and, and put it out when it can actually be digested and not be secondary to what's, because that shit's really fucking important. What was happening? You know what I mean? Yeah. Black Lives Matter movement, Trump, however you feel about him, it was a crazy time. And, the pandemic, it was wild, and it was almost felt like I was almost weird about posting photos of anything, you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't feel like it was appropriate. I felt like there's bigger fish to fry right now. And that kind of thing. So I think it's good that we waited now, especially in retrospect. It was difficult. But we just put out a new single and we're getting great responses on that. And the album's going to come out in like October, I'm hearing. So it's coming and it'll be here now. And, once you're there, it feels like a blink of an eye. It's crazy.
Yeah. I know a lot of people worried about when that pandemic hit, how are we going to stay relevant? What new avenues are we going to pick up to try to keep engaged for however long this takes, 2 weeks, and then it becomes a year. And now we're year and a half into this shit, or two, I don't know. It's a long time. What you said, you felt weird about posting anything. Were you just like, all right, we're just going to take a step back, or did you feel the need to like keep engaged and find to engage your fans somehow?
I posted, I mean, we went out and did some marching for Black Lives Matter. And I posted that kind of thing. I wanted to show people, you know, that was important to stand up for what is right, you know, what you believe in, and that kind of thing. But it didn't feel right for me to post a cool picture of me looking cool or something like that. Like that didn't feel like it was, nobody needed that from me. And as far as I was concerned, and I didn't feel like giving that to the world. So it was a lot more minimal. And, you know, not sharing music, but we were doing little things with like, you know, Octane, who's been on Sirius, who's been really supportive of us. We were doing like little like exclusive songs, like live home recordings and things like that. I mean, little things, but we didn't do any of the big stream videos or anything like that. That didn't feel correct either. You know, so I think we got a little quiet, and I think that's okay too. You know, we also toured for like 4 years straight. So it was also kind of nice to take a step back. It was too much of a step back, but it was, you know, it was also nice too, in a way, you know, let our bodies relax for a minute.
Yeah. The new singles, Kill Beautiful Things. It's phenomenal. I really dig it.
Thank you. You did it.
You wrote this record before the pandemic. You've been sitting on it. Like, do you feel that whatever you're trying to say lyrically still holds up with what has transpired in the world now that this record's coming out?
I do, you know, especially with this song, you know, and the video ended up being something that we shot during the pandemic, and I had to do it by myself. I didn't have the band, you know, so I just did the video by myself. And the song is kind of about, you know, I don't know. I guess I can be pretty cerebral with my lyrics, and people might look at it at face value, but really the song is kind of about the internal struggle of wanting to be, you know, the best version of yourself always, but having to deal with the world and the negativity in the world. You know, you kind of go dark sometimes, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's really about remembering who you are and what's important to you, your values, and knowing that you're the person that you want to be, you know, and that's what and I don't know, probably a lot of people wouldn't get that maybe out of the song at face value, but if you really stopped and listened to it and read the lyrics and stuff. So I think that's pertinent for right now, without a doubt. You know what I mean? I think it's always pertinent. I mean, all that I ask of people, or all that I would want to ask from people, would be that they're just trying to be better than who they are right now, you know? And if you're not, then I don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you're just trying to be conscious of who you are and how you are and the way that you're acting, and it can get away from you, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But whoever, you know, you're allowed to be the best version of yourself today. And I think that's what's up, you know? Yeah.
How are you feeling about this tour coming up, outside of probably just obvious excitement to be playing again? You have any trepidation with the way like Delta and COVID is happening right now?
Yeah. You know, I hope everybody can stay safe, you know, fans and crew and bands alike. But I'm excited, you know, like, I haven't been able to play music or go to work, you know, mm-hmm. in a year and a half. And so I'm so excited. You know, I know I call it go to work, but I mean, really, like, it's what I, you know, as we discussed, I've been playing music for a long time. It's kind of my thing, you know,
You're right, yeah.
You know, so this has been the first time that I've been just, you know, someone said, no, you can't go play music, you know, mm-hmm. you can't. And so it was frustrating, but yeah, man, so I'm so excited for it. I know people have been excited. I've been hearing stories about how amazing it is that people are going to shows and how good it feels again. And I want to be there to experience that.
You've been in the music industry a long time. How do you feel as things have changed and like singles become more prominent in Spotify and playlists? Do you feel like it's helpful? Do you feel creative freedom in like, we can put out a single and let this stand on its own without having to worry about like full-length albums? Or are you still like, the album is the thing?
I'm into change. I mean, I think it, you know, ultimately I think it sucks that albums aren't selling like they used to. That was a good thing. I think it sucked that the labels, you know, screwed people on how much they should have cost. That whole thing should not have happened. But but I do love the accessibility of music, especially as a music listener. I find so much music on Spotify and things like that. So I really enjoy that. And it's easy to share music, which I think, again, art is, its purpose is to be shared and enjoyed, so it's cool. There's a part of me that loves like the idea of it being kind of free in a way for people, but at the same time, I think people work hard at it, and, you spend a lot of money, you work hard, and it'd be really nice if albums were still selling, to some extent like they were, so it's a mixed bag, but ultimately it's fine. I'm into it, I'm into it, and it's been long enough where I'm so used to it now. I don't even think about it anymore. You know what I mean?
I kill all of the beautiful things to keep me alive in a world so cold. I kill all of the beautiful things to help me survive. Can you save my soul? 'Cause I'm on my hands and knees, praying up to not see all of the beautiful things. I kill all of the beautiful things. I kill all of the beautiful things. I kill all of the beautiful things. All of the beautiful things to keep me alive.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.
I never